Hello viewers, welcome to Science TV. My name is Ben Murangai and our sign language interpreter is Wanjangede. And on to our first news item. The acting British High Commissioner to Kenya, Ed Barnett, has reaffirmed that UK's commitment to advancing disability inclusion through the UK-Kenya Strategic Partnership. Speaking only to Science TV, Mr. Barnett highlighted the vital role of media platforms like Science TV in amplifying the voices of persons with disabilities and promoting inclusion, dignity, and opportunity. Reflecting on the 2018 Global Disability Summit, co-hosted by Kenya and the UK, the High Commissioner noted that significant progress has been made in ensuring commitments translate into real change. One of the key initiatives is the Digital Accessibility Program, which has trained more than 10,000 persons with disabilities and senior citizens in digital skills. Collaborations with partners such as Kiktanet, the Kenya Society for the Blind, Busia County, and Science TV have been instrumental in program success.
Here in Kenya, we have a particular focus, and we may come on to discuss that, on the use of digital technology to enable inclusion, and including, and in particular, to enable deaf people to access services.
Yeah, and just for information, the most recent Global Disability Summit was held in Berlin, Germany, just in April this year. Mm-hmm. But to keep on the Kenya-UK relationship, why do you think it is very important to keep disability inclusion at the heart of the UK-Kenya relationship? Because I understand there are 4 thematic areas that sort of brings the Kenya-UK relationship. Why is disability at the center of this relationship?
And that means one needs to put disability at the heart of what we do, and inclusion at the heart of what we do.
Yeah.
So whether that's creating jobs, whether that's supporting startups here in Kenya, whether that's enabling people to realize the benefits of artificial intelligence or digital technology and innovation, there's huge scope. So this has been part of the commitments that we have made through dating back to that first Global Disability Summit, and where we thought was a good place for the UK and Kenya to partner to realise progress in that space. And in particular, and as your viewers will know, there's a big push from the government of Kenya around digitalising government services, in particular through the e-citizen platform. That's something that we are also on a journey with in the UK, as we seek to make services more efficient and more accessible and more effective for the public back in the UK. And I think in order for that to happen, and to ensure that everyone can access those digital platforms, there need to be some assistive technologies and some adaptations to how those platforms are accessed. And that's where we saw that there was a particular opportunity for us to have a focus on disability and inclusion. And I'm really pleased at the results that we've been able to achieve through that. Both specific examples of individuals who've come up with some really exciting and life-changing adaptations to digital technology to enable them to be accessed, and which I've seen for myself, including in healthcare, for example, but also in terms of equipping people, and particularly persons with disabilities, with digital skills so that they can use and benefit from the services that are being provided, but also use those digital platforms to create livelihoods for themselves, be that their own businesses or their own service provision.
And just to quote exactly what you're saying, over 10,000 persons with disabilities and senior citizens have received digital skills training. What has been because I know you might have had the opportunity to go into the grassroots and be able to interact with persons who have received these trainings. What has been most of the transformative impact of this program that you have seen or that your team has been able to share with you?
Sure. So I was able to, it was about this time last year, I was in Busia for the launch of the Digital Access Program in Western Kenya. So it's been great just to see the numbers in terms of, I think, close to 1,000 persons with disabilities who have been trained. Then at an event to flag off computers that we're heading up to Mandera County as part of the program, that is where I was able to see a demonstration of some of the assistive technologies that have been developed and are now being used and supported through the program. So I think one that particularly struck me, if a person with disabilities or a deaf person comes into a medical facility to seek medical advice, and yet there's a language barrier, and this piece of assistive technology was in enabling sign interpretation to assist the medical professional to provide advice to the individual who needed support because of the illness that they had come to the health centre with. Super simple, e-citizen, and for example, how you go about applying for a passport, and yet you may have trouble seeing or hearing. And the technologies that can be used in order to enable you to quickly access those services and carry out your demand. In the example I saw, it was about a passport application. And with no sight, the individual was able to navigate the platform and do exactly what was required.
Actually, the technology that you're referring to initially, it is called the Assistol app. It is by Science Media Kenya, where a sign language interpreter is able to be dialed in wherever they are if a patient is in a hospital. And interesting stuff. That how important is it to work with local collaborators to make sure that DAP, a program such as DAP, is implemented properly? The likes of Kictonet, Kenya Society for the Blind, Busia County as a whole, and Science TV Kenya, because most times we'd find that unfortunately, donors or collaborators, when they bring programs, they would want to implement them directly. But from a UK perspective, why was it important for you, for the government of UK, to collaborate with people who have hands-on skills on the ground to be able to implement the DAP program?
So I think for us, it's really important to work through local partners. It's through those local partnerships that you tend to tap into the best sources of expertise, both in terms of the technologies themselves, but also how you can make those technologies work in a particular context, whether that's Mandera, Busia, Nairobi, or elsewhere in Kenya. So we've been really pleased to be able to partner with organisations that you've talked about in terms of Kictonet, but also in terms of the local county governments, who, after all, play a really important enabling role for those organisations to carry out their work. But there are other examples. For example, the work that we've been supporting through the Royal Institute of Engineering, which identifies innovations in whatever form they may be and supports and curates those innovations to scale.
And on to our next news item. The deaf community in Taita Taveta County is voicing distress over a critical lack of hearing aids, a situation they say is severely hindering their quality of life, education, and economic participation. community representatives, and advocates have issued a plea to both the county and national governments, highlighting the urgent need for intervention to procure and distribute essential assistive devices. They are calling on relevant government agencies and non-governmental organizations to launch a targeted initiative to supply the devices and train specialists on their maintenance and fitting. The shortage reportedly impacts children and adults alike, leading to the missed educational opportunities for students and communication barriers for those seeking employment or accessing public services. And on to our next news. The Anglican Church has called upon the government to urgently address mounting tensions surrounding the Social Health Authority, SHA, health insurance scheme, and the ongoing crisis in the education sector. Church leaders in a press briefing heavily criticized the government, accusing it of quote-unquote gambling with or neglecting crucial issues that affect the welfare of Kenyans. The strong statements come as medical services under the SHA scheme face disruptions in private hospitals, and university lecturers continue their strike for a second week, paralyzing operations in institutions of higher learning. The church is demanding immediate and definite solutions to both crises.
We demand with Kenyans that SHA puts her house in order and prioritize payments of funds owed to all hospitals to enable them to continue to offer services. Delayed capitation coupled with an affordable education is putting quality education and general access beyond the reach of many. Government must swiftly act to address the lecturers' grievances and solve this perennial problem once and for all. However, it is essential that the resistance and concern by governors be addressed in the interest in promoting a buy-in. It is important that such matters be addressed exhaustively.
And the Deputy President, Kithure Kindiki, has asserted that the United Democratic Alliance, UDA, remains a robust political force fully committed to implementing quote-unquote revolutionary social and economic policies aimed at improving the lives of all Kenyans. Speaking on Friday at the UDA headquarters in Nairobi, where he presided over the presentation of nomination certificates to successful candidates from the recent party primaries, the DP emphasized the ruling party's core mission. Kindiki, who also serves as the party's deputy leader, stated that UDA will not waver in its determination to empower those at the bottom of the economic pyramid, noting that this focus forums the bedrock of UDA's manifesto. He dismissed any notion that the party has strayed from its agenda, assuring supporters that UDA has not lost track of the promises it made to the people. And moving on, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has sharply criticized the current state of governance in the country, asserting that many of the concerns raised by his administration have materialized, leading to a rollback of progress and increased public suffering. Speaking during the National Delegates Convention, NDC, on Friday, Kenyatta claimed his warnings during the last general elections were ignored and dismissed, but have now been validated by current realities. The former president has highlighted the discontinuation of or curtailment of several key social programs initiated during his reign. He specifically pointed to the maternal health scheme, Linda Mama, which he claimed has been replaced by untested and unproven policies. Kenyatta further attributed the current challenges to the divisive political environment during the last election cycle, arguing that political rhetoric and populist narratives derailed meaningful national debate.
Of all this is what makes a stable and pragmatic nation, one that is filled with hope and not despair, a nation at peace with itself, and one that is able to transist with ease from one generation to the next. In the last general election, I endeavored to pass this message. Unfortunately, it fell on deaf ears and was lost in the noise of insults, character assassinations, myths and stories of dynasties and hustlers, and so on. Yeah. Today, many of the gains we had in the past have been eroded. Linda Mama and others replaced by new, untried, untested schemes. And while we wait for these experiments to work, Kenyans suffer and our progress is retarded. As we continue to dwell in rhetoric rather than in progress, we repeat the mistakes of the past. Indeed, today, some of the truths we spoke of yesterday have become the reality check of today, while some of the myths and falsehoods have become the nightmare that many are living. So again, why are we here today? Ladies and gentlemen, the past can inform us
And on to our next news. The Democracy for Citizens Party, DCP, has officially thrown its weight behind former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, unanimously endorsing him as the party's presidential flag bearer for the 2027 general election. The delegates meeting at the party's National Delegates Convention, NDC, ratified the motion to make Gachagua the party's candidate, formally launching his bid to challenge the incumbent government. Gachagua, who was impeached as deputy president last year and subsequently formed the DCP, has positioned his campaign on a platform of economic restoration and a promise to address welfare and of ordinary Kenyans.
That kama mko kwa united opposition, musikuje kugawanisha stronghold. Tayari DCP imeshika mlima yote, imeshika yote. Sasa mnatumwa. Kama wewe ni mtu ya Kasongo umetumwa na wheelbarrow ya red. Tomorrow they are unveiling wheelbarrow ya kala red.
William Samoei Arap Ruto tumewachagua 2013, tumechaguana 2017, tumechaguana 2022, na hawa viongozi walikuwa na kesi pale Hague, na sababu ya kuwachagua ni kwamba hifika kikomo isemekane wamestakiwa. Hivyo Rigathi Gachagua hajastakiwa, koti haijamfunga, haijamzuilia kusimama kiti yeyote.
Sasa tumesema hizi nchi za nje, yule mtu atapatia Kasongo loan, international loan, ajue ni yeye na Kasongo watalipa.
Naambia vijana wenzangu, wakati sasa wa kutokea kwa barabara, kwanza tusimamishe kidogo, kwanza tuingie kwa chama, mkuje tuanze kujipanga, ndio tupiganie viti za MCS, tupiganie viti za MP, za governor, hata ya president. Ndio mwaka ujao 2027 tukue sisi ndio tunaongoza kuliko kuongozwa.
That is all for the news bulletin. We will be back with the sports news.